A warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television, your home for happenings in the aviation sector. I'm Bukola Joe Uketumbi. Empty terminals and aircraft paucity is dampening the growth of Nigeria's domestic airline sector. With a high number of aircraft still trapped outside the country after COVID-19, the availability of foreign exchange for local operators is also critical. Aviation experts believe if government could pay part of the foreign airlines' blocked funds, it should extend a hand of fellowship to local operators to help them thrive. Local airlines and their opportunities for growth is our interest on the program. Plus, a 14-year-old stowaway is found on a United Nigeria aircraft during pre-flight inspections in Lagos. That's the program. Let's get started. Air transport is an important enabler to achieving economic growth and development. Air transport facilitates integration into the global economy and provides vital connectivity on a national and international scale. It helps generate trade, promote tourism, and create employment opportunities. Here in Nigeria, recovery post the pandemic has been impressive until the Russian-Ukraine crisis set fuel prices on the high, with Jet A1 taking the knock and sending airfares out of the reach of most regular travelers. A return ticket for an hour's journey averages between 155,000 and 160,000 naira.
The fare is on the high side, of course. How would we do? It's on the high side.
The ticket rate is a little bit expensive, and secondly, the charging for on the locations is much as well. But then it's okay.
Well, you know, the fares has gone up, and we are coping with it. So I think that is general to all the airlines.
While prices on one side affects travelers, the airlines themselves are battling the scarcity of foreign exchange, which affects the availability of spares and the ability to carry out heavy maintenance offshore. The side effects: many aircraft on the ground, a situation that raises the alarm bells.
If you go to GAT in the morning and see the number of aircraft that are parked there that are not flying, in December there was an increase in passengers, so Nigerian Airlines went to lease. There were like 12 leased Airbuses, A320. We became an Airbus company. How many of them are flying now? Most of them. And these are leased aircraft, so you're still paying for block hours. So it's a catch-22 situation. If you go this way, you lose. If you go this way, you lose. So what do? Some people have quite new aircraft, so they don't have quite a lot of maintenance to do. There is no C or D checks. But if you notice all the people who went for heavy checks, the planes are not back. And the ones that are due for checks are all packed because you can't afford it.
The domestic airline industry appears to be alone as foreign carriers who cried out over their blocked funds now have a reprieve as 50% has been released by the Central Bank of Nigeria. What is the fate of local airlines?
This is their money. This is the agreement. And you can't withhold the total amount. You can pay bits and bits of it based on your economic situation, but you cannot say, oh no, I don't give you anything, find your way. But at the same time, our own airlines, who we are supposed to protect, we are going to black market to buy Forex, to be able to pay for spares, to be able to pay for whatever they needed. And we didn't think about that. So it's unfair that you are now denying your own children the food that you're giving to outsiders.
All of this situation, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority says it's not unmindful of as it seeks safe operations.
The aviation agencies, especially NCA, has been very flexible with the operators of where we can be flexible without compromising safety in any way, any manner. We've been flexible so that we can get you across these difficult times. It's important that this financial economic difficulties the airlines are facing, we manage it as not to translate into technical and safety issues. We have seen a bit of a trend, and it's quite worrisome. And we must put an immediate stop to that. And that's why we've been discussing giving all sort of exemptions and waivers to the industry so that they can cope.
Survival for domestic carriers appears tough as the current crisis places unbearable pressure on safe operations for a sector in serious jeopardy. On our interview segment, the chairman of Airpeace, Mr. Allen Uyema, is our guest. He believes there is greater need to support domestic airlines by providing a forex window for their operations. He also believes that aeropolitics should be played to benefit carriers carrying the nation's flag on some international routes. There's more from him.
Airline operation is in dollar, and the dollars have become scarce, not very easy to come by. Where you come by is a lot of money to be paid for you to get them. And our fares are not commensurate with the costs of operations. And that's the only way we get revenue, through fares. If you decide to raise your fares commensurately, then the flying public will bear the brunt. The solution here is for the government to see a way to helping us to access foreign exchange at an affordable rate. That's all. We can get it at an affordable rate. And of course, to speed up the Dangote refinery thing, the government should help Dangote to come on stream as quickly as possible and start producing this aviation fuel within the country. That will go a long way to helping us. All this importation of aviation fuel will never solve anything. This is a country that sits on oil. I don't see the reason why we should be importing PMS and Jet Air-1 fuel. We have so many after COVID-19, the resumption of operations in 2020, in 2021, yes, 2021, we had a lot of our planes outside the country at a time. I had over 22 planes scattered all over the world, undergoing maintenance. As I speak to you, not all of them are back. I still have about 15 or so aircraft out because of paucity of foreign exchange, reducing our capacity to operate. The Nigerian airlines are really very strong. They are trying. I'm sure if the foreign airlines are faced with 1/4 of the things we face in this country, they will not be able to survive. The central bank has just called on us to submit our forex demands so that they could see how they could help. I don't blame the central bank. They are trying. They can only give what they have. They cannot manufacture dollars. That is why this hula-bulu about owing some airlines outside Nigeria, Nigeria cannot manufacture the dollars. They are not giving their own airlines. It's not as if they are giving us and they are not giving the foreign airlines. The central bank governor has always wanted to support the indigenous operations. He's always calling on us to start international operations too, so that we could save money for the country. But the foreign nations are not allowing us to come to their country. You see, it pained me when Nigerians, some agents went on television criticizing the federal government of Nigeria as if our government had failed because foreign airlines didn't get their funds. I support foreign airlines to get their funds, but the Central Bank of Nigeria didn't seize anybody's money. It's just that they wanted to get the exchange through the Central Bank official window. They could also go through I&E window, which is a little bit more expensive to get it. After all, Nigerians are paying through their noses to get this. And in the last 25 years, Nigerians have been paying more than any other country for commensurate miles compared to other nations. In the last 25 years, people from South Africa, 9 hours flight to London, they have been paying less than Nigeria 6 hours pays. Nigerians will fly for 6 hours, they pay more than the person flying 9 hours from Johannesburg to London. It has been there, so it didn't start today. It didn't start today. Nigeria signed BASA. The Bilateral Air Services Agreement provides for both repatriation of funds, but the most important aspect of BASA is reciprocity. These foreign airlines at their countries, have they abided by that? Have they respected the BASA they signed with Nigeria? The answer is no. You know, the other time we fought in one of the countries from the Middle East, they were doing about 20-something frequencies to Nigeria, not even one to us. We had to fight for it. As I speak to you, UK, Is doing 21 frequencies into my country. They've not been able to respect APC's ordinary email. They even had the temerity to write us to say we should stop writing them. Whenever they are ready, they will get across to us. Why are Nigerians paying 2.3 million naira for economy tickets to go to London when APs could have taken 500,000 naira for the same trip? Why are we depleting our forest reserves based on this? BASA should not be one-sided. BASA should be respected. Reciprocity is number one. And because it's number one, these countries should be made to observe that BASA they signed. Ones that have airlines coming to Nigeria, they're making it impossible for any Nigerian airline to succeed. Losing about 550 million every month flying Dubai, but I'm doing it for my country to bring down. Now you could see the prices going to Dubai came down because of APs went into the freight. The only thing the legacy airlines that go to Dubai do is to increase their first class and business class. But in economy, they're almost charging the same thing we are charging because we forced it down.
Passengers sit in the waiting area of the check-in hall at the Terminal 2 of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, as Africa World Airlines is now the latest carrier operating out of the terminal. The airline joins Air Peace, which relocated its international flights there late April. Some passengers of Air Peace were seen on queues as they started their boarding and check-in processes for a flight. South African Airlines is expected to move to the terminal on the 9th of September. The unconscious stowaway found in a United Nigeria parked aircraft at the weekend is 14-year-old Rashid Muftau. In a statement issued by Boycotting Aviation Services operators of the Murtala Mohammed Airport 2, the teenager is now safe in the custody of the airport authority, where he's been held for further investigation. The statement added that the boy told investigators that he gained access into the airside through an opening at Ile-Zik, Fans perimeter fence along the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. The invader stated that he's an orphan and he lives in Badagry, but is from Kwara State, and he was tired of the country and wanted to travel out. The statement also adds that he passed through the General Aviation Terminal, the Air Force hangar, and walked down to MMA2, where he hid himself at the apron. He saw staff on duty at the GAT and Air Force hangar, but dodged them and passed through the bush. He became unconscious as a result of the drugs he took and a lack of ventilation. Driven by significant gains in cargo and passenger volumes, Ethiopian Airlines has boosted its profit by 90% compared to 2021. Ethiopian posted $5 billion in revenue for the financial year ended June 30, a 79% growth compared to full year 2021. Its profit catapulted by 97% from last year to an impressive $937 million, driven by significant reductions in operational costs. The airline falls under the country's sovereign wealth fund, Ethiopian Investment Holdings, and the chief executive Mamo Miretu released a summary of the year on Twitter. He did add that the airline thrived despite the global pandemic without job losses and significant cancellations. He put that down to its management's agility and obsession in ensuring long-term cost leadership, proving the resilience of his strategy, ensuring to give his operations some credit. When we return after the break, Ryanair returns to profitability. Do join us again. Ryanair is hopeful of returning to pre-COVID profit levels of over 1 billion euros this year as travelers trade down to low-cost services. That's from its chief executive, Michael O'Leary. Last month, the Irish airline, Europe's largest by passenger numbers, said it was too soon to provide meaningful profit guidance for its financial year, which ends on March the 31st, 2023.
I mean, what we're seeing, pre-COVID, we carried 150 million passengers and made a profit just over $1 billion after tax. You know, and what we have said to our unions and to our people, you know, we'll have full pay restoration across Ryanair, including among the management. When we get back to traffic of more than 149 million, we'll do that this year. The question is, will we get back to profitability of over $1 billion? I'm hopeful. But again, there's too much uncertainty this winter over Ukraine, COVID, and also the recession.
It is already certain that Ryanair will beat its pre-COVID peak of flying 149 million passengers in a year, with a forecast of 166.5 million for the current financial year. But O'Leary said high fuel prices, economic turmoil and staffing pressures meant that the wider European short-haul market would not return to pre-COVID traffic levels in 2023 or 2024.
I think there is going to be, I expect our average airfares, which are currently about 40 euros or about 34 pounds, will rise over the next 5 years to, say, from 40 to about 50 euros or 42 or 43 pounds. But that's still going to be a fraction of what BA, Lufthansa, Air France and others are charging at the moment. So the era of low fares is not over, but I do think the era of 9.99s and maybe 14.99 really cheap and cheerful airfares are probably gone for the next couple of years while we're all dealing with.
In a very dark, deep recession, as we've had in the past, the total market may level out or decline slightly, but more and more people will trade down to lower-cost airlines like Ryanair, and there's every risk the economic situation this winter will cause people to fly less, but they won't cut flying altogether. Ryanair is seeing stronger bookings into the winter period, particularly for the British October bank holiday weekend, midterm school break and Christmas, than it had pre-pandemic. Average fares are likely to rise by 3 to 4% this year and 3 to 5% next year. Meanwhile, Boeing appears to have accepted it will not be able to certify its MAX 10 aircraft by a year-end deadline. But it remains possible that US lawmakers could give it more time. Boeing, with which Ryanair says it is negotiating a possible order for up to 200 of the aircraft, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The US plane maker faces a late December deadline to win approval for the 737 MAX 10, otherwise it must meet new cockpit alerting requirements under a 2020 law unless waived by Congress. Air China and the British engineering giant Rolls-Royce have announced that they are entering into a new joint venture of engine maintenance, repair and overhaul (MRO) in Beijing. The new joint venture, Beijing Aero Engine Services Company Limited, will provide MRO support on the Rolls-Royce Trent 700, Trent XWB-84 and Trent 1000 Aero engines. Air China currently has all three engine types in its fleet. Air China and Rolls-Royce each hold 50% of the shares in the joint venture, with the contract amount of over $378.2 million. At full capacity, Basel could support up to 250 shop visits per year and is expected to be achieved in the mid-2030s. The facility will offer MRO services to Air China and other airline customers. Currently, Rolls-Royce powers 60% of China's wide-body fleet, powering more than 550 aircraft in service or on order. The pilot of a small plane, Corey Patterson, who threatened to intentionally crash into a Walmart in Mississippi but landed without any injuries, is now in custody. At a press conference during the weekend, Tupelo Police Chief John Quacker called it a crime of opportunity.
C-90 twin-engine aircraft and took off from the Tupelo airport today. We do know Patterson has some flight instruction. We do not believe he is a licensed pilot. That is still ongoing to discover that. He is an employee of Tupelo Aviation and has been for 10 years, so he has access to these aircraft. He is a lineman for Tupelo Aviation, which means he fuels the aircraft. We do know that that aircraft was fully fueled the night before.
Earlier, the police department in Tupelo, Mississippi, said they had been talking directly with the pilot and had evacuated the Walmart and a gas station.
That he is going to crash this aircraft into the West Main Walmart in Tupelo, Mississippi. Soon thereafter, Tupelo police department and fire department evacuated West Main Walmart in Tupelo and all the surrounding areas. We were assisted by Lee County SO. Numerous major streets in Tupelo were shut down to help save lives during this critical incident.
The Daily Journal, citing multiple sources, reported that the plane was down in Ashland, a sparsely populated part of Mississippi, and the pilot was still alive. Cargo transportation is a very crucial segment of the Nigerian aviation industry and by extension its economic development. As at 2020, air cargo accounted for 35% of the movement of goods worldwide, and the International Air Transport Association recorded $6 trillion as airlines' contribution, out of which air cargo generated $111 billion. To push the frontiers of agricultural products moving by air, the Ogun State government began the construction of its cargo airport in the Peruremo area in 2021, a facility that was first initiated in 2007.
Since the governor of Ogun State came on board, one of his programs was economic prosperity, individual prosperity for the people of Ogun State. And this project was identified as one of those enablers that can lead to economic prosperity in Ogun State. And the governor also said this, that no project started by any of his predecessors that will add value to the people of Ogun State, especially economic value, the best interest of the people of Ogun State and our economy. This airport is one of such projects.
While the 5,000 square meters of land housing the airport is a construction area, the 4-kilometer runway is 85% complete for the Category E class airport.
The runway overall is 4 kilometers in length. Its total width 60 meters. So the main runway itself is 45, shoulders on both sides 7.5 meters. At the end of the runway, where you have the concrete turning part, you saw the thickness, the quality of the work ongoing. The concrete work is curing very well. You can't see any crack anywhere. So that attests to the quality of the work. We finished what is called the binder course, which is 130 mm of asphalt.
The runway is not the only infrastructure receiving attention. The control tower and fire station are also under construction, with the government's focus on building an aerotropolis.
The control tower is a 5-level control tower. We are now on the 3rd floor. So everything is being put in place to make it a unique control tower. It's going to be, there'll be a lot of construction going on. They work around the clock. And on the other side is the passenger terminal. You've seen the cargo terminal also.
Right from the scratch, we are taking on board officials from NCAA. We are taking on board officials from NAMA. We are taking on board officials from FAN. The Ministry of Aviation is also involved. So we want with other facilities that are coming. For instance, the African Development Bank, AFDB.
When the agro-cargo airport is commissioned later this year, it will be accessible through 6 locations, which includes the Lagos-Shagamu and Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, among others. A popular quote says, flying may not be all plain sailing, but the fun of it is worth the price. That's where we call it a day on the program. I'm Bukola Joe Kitumbi. Bye for now.